CTV News at 5 with Hudson Mack.
Well, Vancouver Island mariners are getting a chance, their first opportunity, to question the federal government over proposed cuts to the Coast Guard on the West Coast. While he was in Nanaimo today, the federal fisheries minister heard firsthand the concerns about cuts to Coast Guard communications on the West Coast. The federal government says, though, that with today's technology, fewer communication centres can deliver the same level of service without putting people's lives at risk.
Service is going to be there. There's no question that we're going to provide safety to mariners. And if I thought for a second that we weren't going to be, we wouldn't be doing this. But we can. It's not just about the Coast Guard. Because search and rescue is a network. It's not just a Coast Guard on its own. We have the Royal Canadian Marine SAR here, auxiliary group that provide excellent service. We have ships that are in the area that can provide the service. So it's all done as a network. It's not one individual group.
The ministry says despite cutbacks, the Kitsilano Coast Guard base in Vancouver will still have a rescue boat on the water from May through September, and it'll be there to provide emergency service during the peak boating season. A massive explosion and fire this afternoon at a trucking warehouse near Langley. Witnesses say the blast shook the Port Kells industrial neighborhood and ignited a massive blaze. The explosion hit at about 2:30, leaving the business, Ken Johnson Trucking, in flames. Police say the initial blast happened in some chemicals, and that triggered a chain of smaller explosions. The flames spread quickly through the plant, engulfing several big rigs and a tanker trailer on site. This trucking company transports oil and chemicals. The blast also knocked out power in the area and caused major traffic tie-ups because of closed roads, including the Golden Ears Bridge, which has now reopened. Police say one person was seriously injured and was flown to the hospital.
Look at that.
Oh, my God.
And this from Winnipeg, nearly 75,000 litres of biofuel exploded at a warehouse there, sending fireballs and thick black smoke into the sky. Nobody was hurt in the fire yesterday, but it burned for several hours, forced the evacuation of homes nearby. The damage in this Winnipeg blast is pegged at $15 million. Well, there's some progress to report tonight in labour negotiations at the University of Victoria. Enough movement to hold back further job action, at least for now. However, wages and job security are still big issues at 4 other BC universities that were served with strike notice today. CUPE members at UBC, Simon Fraser, the University of Northern BC and Thompson Rivers University could find themselves on a picket line by Thursday. Their strike notice handed in today follows UVic's rotating job action that happened last month. CUPE Local 951 says as far as UVic goes, after nearly 20 days of bargaining, the university has now agreed to all non-monetary, non-cost items, but there's still no agreement on salary.
Well, here at the University of Victoria, the 3 CUPEs are ready to talk to the employer about things that are associated with compensation increases. But before we can get to talking about wages and fair and reasonable wages and inflation adjustment in CUPE 951, we need to talk about job security. So that's fundamental to our discussion.
No job action will take place at the UVic campus while the CUPE locals are in labour negotiations with the university. CUPE 971 meets with UVic tomorrow. Nobody on Vancouver Island has been made sick so far, but there are now 10 cases of E. coli illness across Canada connected to that contaminated beef from Alberta. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says steaks and roasts and beef breakfast sausages that came out of the XL plant in Brooks, Alberta, are being added to the list of products that could be contaminated with bacteria. It is now the biggest meat recall in Canadian history. And the debate over the recall got heated in the House of Commons today, with the leaders of the NDP and Liberal parties accusing the government of shifting responsibility for the recall onto the Food Inspection Agency.
But the Conservatives say the minister isn't responsible. The minister didn't tell the truth, but the Conservatives say he's not responsible. If the Agriculture Minister won't be held responsible for the tainted meat scandal, then what's the point of having a minister?
The Canadian Food Inspection Agency acted to contain contaminated product beginning on September 4th, has been acting ever since then. If the member believes that the powers of the agency are not sufficient, the government in fact has legislation before the House to make sure that it has greater authorities, and we look forward to the NDP's support on that.
As we first showed you on CTV News last night, some of the recalled beef was sold at thrifty food stores on Vancouver Island. It has been recalled. The Island Health Authority says there are no cases of E. coli illness reported here, but there are now 10 confirmed cases elsewhere. For a full list of the recalled beef items, go to ctv.ca. Well, there are no shades of 68, no Trudeau mania just yet, but the worst kept secret in federal politics in Canada was made official in the past hour or so. MP Justin Trudeau will follow in his father's footsteps. He will run for the leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada.
I love this great country. I want to spend my life serving it. This is why tonight I am offering myself for the leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada.
Hundreds of Trudeau's supporters in his riding of Papineau, Quebec were there as the 40-year-old MP announced his intentions. Trudeau says he wants to reconnect the Liberal Party with the Canadian middle class and focus on the future. Trudeau supporters hope he'll breathe new life into the party and draw more voters with an appeal they say reaches beyond political boundaries. Well, if you didn't fill up this morning in Greater Victoria, you probably did a double take on your commute home tonight. The price of gas in the capital region has jumped, going up, way up, 8 cents in one leap this afternoon, pumping tonight at $1.28.9 for a litre of regular. The Nanaimo SPCA still remains closed to new arrivals tonight after shutting its doors in August due to an outbreak of ringworm. All of the kittens suffering from the disease are in the process of being treated. There are now about 19 reports of ringworm at the animal shelter. That is about half the number at this time last month. Staff say infected animals are being given medication and getting treatment baths.
We are, fingers crossed, seeing light at the end of the tunnel. We now have gone from maybe 45 or 50 affected animals down to about 19. So we actually have, very many cats at the moment who have tested negative repeatedly. So they're just about ready to be sent out to satellite for adoption. My hopes is that in the next week to 2 weeks, we might be able to partially open, but this is a cautious mention of that.
More than 80 animals that live at the shelter are still quarantined. Staff say they're okay. There's been no transmission of ringworm from the animals to SPCA staff. Vancouver Island's Military Museum has opened its doors in a new space. The facility's new location is at 100 Cameron Avenue in Piper Park in Nanaimo. That's the site of the old Centennial Museum. And staff say it's been a big move, but it's paying off. They've been getting nothing but rave reviews.
Most of them have been surprised. One, that we had so much material and that we've been able to display it so well. And I think that's the main thing that they notice about the new museum as opposed to the old museum. It's a much brighter area. It's better lit, better graphics, better interpretation. And most people think this is a first-class facility. We've had people say this is a really significant military museum.
The museum says it can now describe itself accurately as a destination for tourists.